Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
From penis to vagina.
Hello boys and girls. For several weeks, the internet has been making a fuss about a certain movie called Emilia Perez. Apparently, everyone hated it. Conservatives, trans people, Mexicans. There's no way it could be that bad, I thought to myself. And boy, was I wrong. Emilia Perez is one of the worst films I've ever seen. A complete mockery of the trans community, Mexicans, and film itself. Now, as a professional Mexican, it is now my duty to watch this film and review it for you. But since I couldn't find a place to pirate it, I had to get a Netflix subscription, which I regretted 4 minutes into the film. This movie is so bad. It makes the worst Jehovah's Witness movie look like Citizen Kane. By comparison. I wish I was joking. You know, as always, we're doing the cringe challenge, so if you cringe, you lose, and when you cringe, let me know the exact moment you lost it. ¿Estás listo? Vamos.
From penis to vagina.
Emilia Perez tells the story of Manitas del Monte, a ruthless Mexican drug lord who has always dreamed of being a woman. With the help of Rita, a talented lawyer, Manitas finds a surgeon who helps him transition into a woman, and he must now build a new life for herself as Emilia Perez and atone for the sins of her previous life by being a light to her community. Oh boy. The director of this film is Jacques Audiard, a French dude who is so out of touch. He did zero research on Mexico before making this film. Emilia Perez was not filmed in Mexico, none of the main cast are Mexicans, and as you will soon see, no Mexicans were consulted in the making of this film. It's the perfect recipe for disaster. So the movie starts with Rita, played by Zoe Saldana, you might know her as Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy, as a lawyer who defends cartel members. Rita is internally conflicted about defending these criminals, but then she gets a call from a mysterious voice who invites her to meet her in some newspaper stand in the dark. Yeah, totally not suspicious at all. And then she bursts into song telling us how hard it is to be a lawyer working for the cartel and how hard it is to be a dark woman in Mexican society. Yeah, this movie is a musical, by the way. I think it has like more than 40 songs. And each one of these songs is absolutely awful. It has no rhythm, the dialogue is choppy as hell, and I think the Spanish songs were written using Google Translate, as I will demonstrate briefly. And this film wastes no time in portraying Mexico as a cesspool of violence, where people are shanked out in the streets, and newsstands display images of executions along with half-naked women. Well, okay, that last part is accurate, but there's much more to Mexico than cartel violence, okay? After taking a few glances at the magazines, Rita is kidnapped, of course, and she's taken to a cartel boss called Manitas del Monte, which is exactly the kind of name I expect the French director to give a narco boss. And Manitas offers Rita 2 million pesos in exchange for her legal services, and she accepts without even knowing what he wants from her. Yeah, so much for not wanting to work for the cartel anymore, Rita. So what does this ruthless drug lord want from Rita? Well, he wants her to look for a surgeon who can help him transition into a woman. Rita is kind of confused by all of this, to which Manitas opens his shirt and reveals that he has been taking hormone therapy for the last 2 years and now has boobs. And then Rita gasps as if she has never seen boobs before.
Empecé el tratamiento hace 2 años.
So after Manitas tells his story, Rita starts feeling some type of sympathy for this criminal drug lord and agrees to help him look for a surgeon. Why did Manitas, the most powerful drug lord in Mexico, not already have lawyers that could help him find a surgeon? Who knows? Why did he ask Rita specifically to help him? I don't know, the movie never tells us. So Rita takes on the mission, and the first place she looks for a surgeon is Bangkok in Thailand, because of course Thailand has a lot of ladyboys, right? And then we get the worst song in the film, which has now become a meme at this point. You've probably seen clips of it.
I'd like to know about sex change operation.
I see. Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
Ugh. Look guys, I'm not an expert on transitioning, so if I have any members in my audience that happen to be trans, I would love your opinion on this, but I imagine transitioning is actually a very difficult process, right? Like, not just physically, but for the mind as well. And this film just treats it as a joke, as a freaking Broadway musical, where you go to the hospital and like in a buffet, you start selecting the surgeries you want. The director probably thought, oh, how could we reflect the excruciating process of transitioning? Oh, I know, by having a bunch of people parade around in this dystopian ass hospital. It almost seems like a mockery of the trans community, like a South Park skit. Oh, but it gets worse. So apparently there's no surgeons in Thailand, so Rita keeps looking. But as she's trying on some new clothes that she bought with her dirty cartel money, Manitas sends some men after her who put a plastic bag over her head to threaten her life. And he tells her, hey, you better hurry the fuck up because I really want to be a woman now.
Que te pago para que le hagas a la mamada en primera clase. ¿Eh? Apúrate, chingada madre.
So Rita flies to Israel. Why Israel? God knows. And she's trying to convince this doctor to operate on Manitas, and he's very hesitant at first, and they start having this back and forth conversation that turns into a song, and they're interrupting each other, and it's awful to hear.
If he's a he, she'll be a he. If he's a she, she'll be a she. If he's a wolf, she'll be a wolf. If he's the wolf, you'll be his sheep. Bah.
Changing the body changes society. Changing society changes the soul.
Changing the body changes society? What does that even mean? So the doctor finally agrees and he flies back to Mexico. Oh, and this is just a small nitpick, but the film portrays these narcos listening to reggaeton music. And not to stereotype every single narco out there, but these criminals usually listen to like norteñas or corridos, you know, those songs with the tuba and the accordion.
Mafia nueva, Sinaloense, pura plebada de arranque.
And it's these little details that show you that apparently there were no Mexicans working with this director, because I think he just thought like, oh, what music do Latinos listen to? Oh, I know. Every Latino loves reggaeton, so these ruthless criminals must be also listening to reggaeton. But every Mexican knows this is not true. So the doctor goes with Manitas, and Manitas tells him how difficult it's been growing up with gender dysphoria, and how he tried to suppress those feelings by being the most vicious narco of them all. He even says he's thought several times of unaliving himself.
Pero ya no puedo más. Pensé cientos de veces en quitarme la vida. Pero no es justo desaparecer sin haber vivido tu propia vida. Help me, doctor.
Which, you know, would be pretty impactful to the audience if it wasn't for the fact that he's a ruthless criminal who's responsible for probably hundreds of deaths. Why exactly, as a Mexican, should I feel bad for him? Why should I feel empathy for this character? They even show some clips of Manitas hanging out with his kids to say, oh look, he's just a person who loves his kids. Yeah, I don't think cartel members are bringing their kids to their Friday outings with their buddies, because that's usually when they go and torture people out in the desert. Again, I cannot stress this enough. It's really hard to feel sympathy for this piece of shit. Especially if you're a Mexican watching this, since we're very familiar with the damage these scumbags bring on our country. What, should I give Manitas a free pass just because he has gender dysphoria? Just because he wants to be a woman? No, I don't think so. Manitas can transition right into a jail cell for all I care. And talking about crimes, now we get to Selena Gomez, who plays Jessie, the wife of Manitas. And oh boy, she sucks in this film. Her Spanish is not good. And it's a shame because her dad is Mexican and her grandparents are Mexican as well. And apparently she loves her roots but has not taken the time to learn the language properly. I kid you not, her Spanish is so bad that if it weren't for the subtitles, I could not understand half of the things she was saying. Zoe Saldana, on the other hand, is a native Spanish speaker, but her parents are Puerto Rican and Dominican. And she tries to pull off a Mexican accent by adding a lot of slang words like no mames and valiendo madres. But it's not convincing at all. And I know that faking an accent is super difficult. You need weeks and weeks of training with a language coach. But it still detracts from her character. You know how we could have avoided all of these problems? If you would have hired actual Mexicans to play the main characters. Oh, but the filmmaker said that apparently they looked all over Mexico and they couldn't find any suitable actors or actresses to play the role, so that's why they had to resort to these people. So you're telling me that Mexico, a country of 120 million people, you didn't find actresses that would fit your roles? I call bullshit. It's just you didn't even try and you made up excuses, and this movie sucks ass. So now everything is set. There's a surgeon, and the plan is for Manitas to fake his own death and he's going to ship off his wife and 2 children off to Switzerland with fake passports, and he's going to become a new person. Again, feeding on a harmful trope that trans people only transition because they want to escape their problems or because they have no accountability. So the surgeries were a success. Apparently she had all the surgeries she needed overnight, and then she checks her private part and sees it's all okay and she feels cool. So now it's not Manitas anymore, it's Emilia Perez. And the film jumps 4 years into the future in London, where Rita, now super rich because of her cartel money, is having some dinner with some rich snobs. And then a woman approaches her and turns out it's Emilia Perez. And Rita starts to panic once she realizes who this person is, because she thinks now Manitas has went to her because she wants to get rid of her because, you know, she's the only witness left to what happened. But no, she just wanted to see Rita because she has another favor to ask her. Turns out Emilia Perez wants to move back to Mexico along with her children because she really misses them. Oh, it only took you 4 years to figure that out. Get the fuck out. So Selena Gomez and her kids then fly back to Mexico as Rita assures them they're moving with some distant aunt who Manitas entrusted to care for her family in case she went missing. And then when the children arrive home, Emilia presents herself as the aunt, the missing aunt, and she starts kissing them, you know, but these children have never met her in their life, so it just comes off as super creepy, and even Rita looks creeped up. It's just like a dystopian version of Mrs. Doubtfire. Then Selena breaks out in another music number with her ridiculous Spanish, which makes no sense because, you know, as I said, her character grew up in the United States, so why are you making her sing in Spanish when she could just be doing the song in English? Selena is the only actress in this that actually sings, and you just wasted her with these horrific pieces. And I swear, each song is worse than the last. Well, I mean, nothing's gonna top the Penis to Vagina song, but this one's pretty bad. And then we get possibly the worst line in the movie, which has now become a meme in the Spanish community. This confirms to me that the Spanish dialogue was concocted using Google Translate. I was thinking about this line because it makes no sense. No Mexican or Spanish speaking person is ever gonna use this phrase. So I think they were trying to say, my pussy aches for you. But when you stick that into Google Translate, it turns into this, which makes no sense. Yeah, my urethra aches when I watch this movie, that's what.
From penis to vagina.
So Rita and Emilia are catching up, they're having some dinner. And then a woman comes up to them and gives them a flyer of her missing son right there at the table, because this French director thinks that in Mexico, you're eating and people just come up to you and put missing posters on your table. This has never happened in my life. And then Emilia suddenly starts feeling guilty over all these missing people that are missing because of the system that she participated in, the cartel. Yeah, cry me a river, Emilia. And then she goes back home and she finally gets some time with her kids. And then when she's putting her kid to bed, this kid tells her that, oh, you smell like my dad. Again, I would appreciate some trans comments down here, but wouldn't your smell, your body odor change after 6 years of hormone therapy? Or maybe this kid just has a superhuman sense of smell. I don't know. But he just lists a bunch of things that remind him of his dad, that he can smell in this woman. Some of them are engine oil, guacamole, sweat, dogs, and cigars. It's fucking gross.
I think I can smell shite.
Oh, and the next storyline is even worse. To atone for all of her sins, Emilia Perez has the brilliant idea of setting up an NGO to look for missing people. And she does this, get this, by sending Rita to several prisons to get these criminals, these former cartel members, to share the locations of the bodies. And they comply. They just feel bad about all their bad actions and tell Rita the locations of, common graves. First of all, this is not realistic at all. The chance that a cartel member is going to spill the beans on the location of these bodies is not realistic. It's a guaranteed death sentence. They're gonna shank them in jail for, ratting their other cartel members out. So that's not gonna happen. And second, the disappearance of people in Mexico is a very serious problem. And it's a very sensitive topic as well. There's a lot of Mexicans that know someone or have even been affected directly by cartel violence. So the notion that member of the cartel will feel repentant and then he will start using his cartel influences to look for these missing people and then become a beacon of light for the community is just deeply insulting. Tone deaf. It's like a middle finger to all these people that have lost family members to the cartel. To give you like a more relatable example for my audience in the United States, just imagine if this was a character like who participated in a mass shooting at a school, and then he transitioned into a woman, and then he went back to the school to start advocating for gun control. Would you like to see this person that was responsible for the death of your children to suddenly start acting as a messiah figure in your community? I don't think so. I think what you would like to see is for him to rot in a prison cell for the rest of his life. That's how Mexicans feel about cartel members. And that's why this film makes me so mad.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, but it gets worse because Emilia hosts a fundraiser in London, and who does she invite? Oh, all her former associates who happen to be criminals and drug lords who are gonna be funding this NGO that is looking for missing people. Give me a fucking break. So Emilia apparently is very regretful about her past, but she's still benefiting from her cartel connections. And then we have another horrific music piece by Rita, where she goes around the dining room and she points at several figures that they're corrupt and they're actually drug lords and they have dirty money. But all this scene, all this musical number happens inside her head. So she actually never calls anyone out. She just kind of keeps benefiting from cartel money as well. I'm telling you, every character in this film is a piece of shit. Oh, but it gets worse because now we're introduced to a new character who's actually Mexican. Jesus, it only took them 1 hour into the film. This lady goes to the NGO looking for her missing husband because she found in the website that they found his location. And then Emilia tells her, oh, sorry, your husband is dead, but like in the most cold tone possible. And this woman is actually relieved that her husband is dead because her plan was to kill him if she found him in the missing person office because this man had been abusive towards her. She had a knife in her bag ready to kill him if he saw him. Again, just a horrible portrayal of Mexicans willing to like kill people in public. And the only reason they introduced this lady whose name is Epifania, get it? Epiphany, is to make her a love interest of Emilia. And they end up bonding over the weapons they have in their pockets. Just look at her waving a gun in front of women who have lost family members to the cartel. What a piece of shit.
From penis to vagina.
So you remember that my pussy aches for you line? Well, I forgot to mention, but Selena had a love affair with this guy named Gustavo, even while she was still married with Manitas. And now Emilia Perez has found out about this, and it turns out that Selena is now engaged to this dude. So Emilia completely loses it, confronts Selena, ends up calling her a slut, pushes her into the bed. And it's super weird because as she keeps getting angrier, her voice deepens, like a more manly voice.
Puedes ir a chingar a tu puta madre si quieres con el pinche vato ese. Pero mis hijos se quedan aquí.
Which just pushes the harmful trope that trans women are still men, like deep inside. This film treats gender dysphoria as a freaking split personality disorder. The angrier Emilia gets, the more manly she becomes, because only men can be aggressive, right? So Emilia uses her cartel henchmen to kidnap Gustavo, beat the shit out of him, and tell him to get the fuck out of Mexico City. And of course, Selena is terrified, so she takes her kids and moves out of the house, and then Emilia Perez is surprised. Oh, how could she leave me? You know, after she kidnapped her boyfriend. Yeah, so much for leaving your psychopathic criminal ways behind, Emilia. And we get another musical piece between the three of the girls. Why is Rita still involved in all this cartel nonsense? Who knows?
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
So Rita now gets a package with a couple of severed fingers. Turns out Emilia has been kidnapped by Selena and her boyfriend Gustavo, who are now asking for millions of pesos for her release. Like, finally, this piece of shit character gets what she deserves after kidnapping and torturing hundreds of people. So Rita, for some reason, because apparently she's still being held hostage by Emilia, puts together a team of narcos to go rescue Emilia. So Rita goes with the rescue team and they get an ambush ready. She gets out of the truck with a bunch of money, you know, just exposing herself to getting shot. And then a shooting ensues and Emilia finally admits to her former wife her real identity, that she was Manitas del Monte all along. Why did Selena never figure this out? I don't know. How could she not notice that her husband had been taking hormone therapy for 2 years and now he had boobs? I don't know. Nothing makes sense in this film. So Manitas ask for Selena's forgiveness for being such a scumbag, and then they put her in the back of the trunk, and Selena and her boyfriend and Emilia leave on a car, and then the car falls off a cliff. And then it fucking explodes. Like a cartoon. Oh, but we're supposed to feel bad for this piece of shit character who never let go of her narco ways and always benefited from cartel money even after she transitioned. And then as a final fuck you to Mexico, Emilia Perez is deified as a saint. So you have a bunch of Mexicans parading her as a saint in the streets and playing music, and she's now I don't know, the saint of being a hypocrite, of being a piece of shit. I don't know.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
I mean, there's so many things to talk about. First of all, as I already mentioned, this film tries to juggle two big issues at the same time and fails miserably at both of them. It's like when you watch a cartoon character try to juggle a bunch of eggs and then they all end up falling on his head. Yeah, that's what this movie feels like. Now, I'm not an expert in the trans community. I'm an outsider, but I don't think Emilia Perez is a good representation for the trans community, because they try to make us sympathize with a psychopathic murderer who uses her transitioning as a way to escape justice. Sure, Emilia is sincere, and I appreciate that they actually used a trans actress for the role, but that doesn't absolve her character of her crimes, because as the film demonstrates, she's still a scumbag after transitioning. She abandons her children for 4 years, she still benefits from her cartel connections, and she still kidnaps people. Any emotional connection we could have had with this character is completely ruined with the fact that she's a criminal. As for the Mexican representation, which is what I'm actually qualified to talk about, it's awful. I think I made that clear. And it's obvious that the director didn't bother consulting Mexicans for this film. In fact, he admitted in an interview that he didn't even bother to study Mexico before he started, because he already knew everything he needed to know.
¿Qué tanto tuviste que estudiar México para poder hacer esta película?
No lo estudié tanto. Lo que tenía que entender ya lo sabía un poco.
Now, cartel violence is a very real issue in the country that affects millions of people. A lot of Mexicans know someone who have lost a family member to these monsters, and this French snob wants to sympathize with Manitas because he sets up a little NGO to find missing people. Get the fuck out. These are very sensitive topics that could have been handled well if you would have had Mexicans to consult with. But no, this guy already knew everything he needed to know about Mexico, so what the fuck do I know? You know, the only good thing about this movie is that it pissed off so many Mexicans that a group of students in Mexico actually decided to pull a Uno reverse card, and they crowdfunded this movie called Johann Sacre Bleu, which is like a French version of Emilia Perez with all the French stereotypes you can think about. Everyone's wearing a mime costume and mustaches and those silly little hats, and they're eating baguettes and they have rats on their shoulders. And it's beautiful, and you really need to check it out, and it's much, much better than Emilia Perez. And leaving aside all the awful trans and Mexican representation in this movie, the film is still garbage. The plot is garbage, the songs are awful, like none of them are good. How can you make a musical with no good songs? Even Donkey Ollie has a few bangers. Donkey Ollie. The acting was mediocre at best. Selena Gomez was terrible. I know she did not have enough time to practice her Spanish, but in that case, you know what you do? You hire someone else. This film was genuinely such an awful experience to get to. I couldn't wait for it to be finished. And the cringe is made 100 times worse when you're a Spanish speaker, and 1,000 times worse when you're a Mexican. This film is pure Oscar bait. Like, the director knew that the snobs at Hollywood would see this trans character and go apeshit. Wow, this movie is so progressive. That's my French accent. What wonderful representation. No, this film was a disservice to the trans community, and this dumbass just used them to snub a few Oscars. The fact that this was nominated for 13 Academy Awards is mind-blowing to me. Oh, and let's not even get into the shitstorm that ensued when the people involved in this film tried to shield themselves from criticism. Garcon went nuclear, accusing anyone who didn't like her film of being transphobic or a lesser person. No, girl, your movie just sucks. And of course, Jacques Audiard, who is too busy sucking his own dick to even bother with the criticisms. Okay, I'm done with this film. I give it 2 out of 10 baguettes. It's awful. Don't waste your time with it. It really sucked. So yeah, I just wanted to do something that's not related to Watchtower for once, and I really wanted to talk about this movie because it sucks ass. Of course, the channel will always be focused on Jehovah's Witnesses and religion, but if you would like me to cover a bad film in the future that's not related to these topics, please let me know in the comments below. It's okay, we'll do it every now and then. If you would like to support my work, please head on over to Patreon or become a channel member. It's only $1 a month, and you get early access to all my videos. Again, thank you so much. Take it easy, guys. Have a wonderful day, and stay away from France.
Bah. Goodbye, little sheep.